And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 76th episode of Hex Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie ALLin. And if you're one of the 2,500 people who is tuning in each week to watch Hex Therapy Live, hit the like and subscribe button. I think it's really awesome that we have a community here that is excited about positivity in the crypto space, even as drama persists and people challenge each other in the community, as the wider crypto space finds out what gets a rug pull and what doesn't. I think that this is a show that you can count on to bring a positive vibe to things, especially today. And so with that being said, you're in the right place. Welcome. And we're going to hit the intro here and then get started.
It's from Maddie ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research. There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
So I think this week is really going to be the calm before the storm, or also before this amazing summer kicks off. And the reason why I say that is I know that I'm putting a lot of time and energy into coordinating some really cool things that I'll be able to announce probably before next week. I'll probably have to do some really short emergency streams to let people know that there are going to be some meetups here. There's going to be a couple of meetups early this summer in the next probably 1.5 to 4 weeks. We're going to have a couple of meetups here in the Midwest in the Chicago area. And so definitely stay tuned for that. I have a Telegram group where I will announce that kind of stuff, as well as on the YouTube channel here, of course. But it's going to be t.me/hex meetups, plural. And so it's really exciting to have the opportunity to meet up with people in real life, to prove that we are not bots, and to celebrate whatever we're there to celebrate, whether it's the bear market or the fact that we've been in Hex through multiple major dips before and come out of it okay. I think it's going to be a really great opportunity to make sure that the online community gets to fully participate and gets to kind of be the main stage where things are happening. I thought that in the past, really, the things that I've done that have been online have been really well received for people who are watching online. And then the things where I've done a Hex meetup or a conference or whatever it is in person, that those events have gone really well in person. And so the more that I can keep contributing in these ways, I'm happy to do it. And it's something that energizes me. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity to do all this. I know last week we had a super long episode of Hex Therapy Live. We were talking for about 2.5 hours, and it seemed to just flow so well. And so if people have questions here in the chat, go ahead and get active. Ask me what your questions are if you're watching live. I know that there are a lot of people watching on the replay, but last time we talked about suicide prevention with all the Terra Luna stablecoin crashing business that had happened last week. This week, I think part of the mood for people is that they're realizing that Pulse Chain might not launch here in the middle of May, that there has been a minor delay. And that's something we saw in Hex. We saw it work out really well in Hex when we had to wait 4 more weeks, and then we got an amazing launch. So I'm not discouraged by that. I was looking forward to it coming out just because I think it's going to solve a very real problem on the Ethereum side of things. But I also appreciate that for a lot of different reasons, waiting can be profitable and it can be beneficial. I see so many hexkins out there who are using their mad gains to promote hex, to promote things that they care about, whether it's funding medical research or mental health or NASCAR or whatever it is. And those promotional events and things that make the world a better place are really encouraging to see. I think that we don't see that as much from other crypto communities, where people who are detached from the founder, people who aren't directly paid by the founder, people who are not part of a centralized team, everybody's volunteering to get the word out, to and to express what they believe in. So let's see. So somebody's asking, like, that you hear that there's some beef with whales in the Hex ecosystem with the accounts who hold a lot of Hex, but nobody explains what's happening or what happened. Can you talk about it? Well, sure. So I think that when people are time locked together and staked for a long period of time, and the price of things goes up, that's a situation where people can have sudden wealth syndrome. People can have certain emotional reactions to hearing that they have to wait longer. It's really incredible that Hex pays people to wait and to hold the price up as part of its game theory mechanism and part of its value proposition. It's really fascinating because people hate waiting. And so it's certainly something that I don't think people would do. People would not delay gratification under normal circumstances without the right incentives at play. And the reason why I'm talking about incentives and game theory and people waiting and not getting their way is because I think that the psychology of whales in the ecosystem is a little bit different than it might be for you or I or people who are even, and I've talked about this before, if we look at the league system, which shows us not only what defines a whale is somebody who owns at least 1% of the supply, but that a shark is like 0.1%, and then a dolphin is 0.01%. And in reality, the fact that the origin address has accumulated like 95% of the coins by buying them on the market and pumping the price and letting people actually achieve a 10,000x, people who wanted to get off the ride after only 2.5 years, that even as we define a dolphin based on what percentage of the shares you hold, which is your share of the future compound interest in Hex, which of course is the way that you can measure your wealth in Hex terms. This gives the currency utility because it allows you to store value and pay your future self, right? So I think the psychology is very different for a dolphin versus a shark or a whale. And I think that the sharks and whales are terrified that the OA will dump on their heads. And, everybody else is super confident. And it's like, well, why is that? Is it that the people who are whales and sharks that they like, and it's not all of them, but like there's a good number of people there, I think, that I've sampled in that category that maybe have a reason to be more worried because they have not just millions of dollars, but hundreds of millions of dollars or $1 billion like wrapped up in Hex. And so the drama, I think that's one way to explain it, is that bigger accounts are less emotionally secure in some cases, or they have reason to try to project their expectations onto the community. And so I think that it's kind of a fair way of psychoanalyzing, there's a difference between asking yourself, what would I do if I had $1 billion worth of Hex versus actually having that lever and having access to those kind of funds, whether they're liquid or in the future. Oftentimes people are tracking their dollar value, which is not the only way to value your wealth. It's not the only game to play. And so, so I think that with the documentary kind of telling its intentions to wait until Pulse is launched and to have that as something that they're filming as like the final moment in the movie, and then it'll take them a couple of months to post-production and then a couple of months to get distribution. That's something that people are, that's even another reason for people to get anxious and excited about when Pulse Channel will launch, but we don't know when that's going to be. And that uncertainty is throwing some people for a loop more than others. Now, there's also been a debate about whether large holders should be giving Richard feedback about how he markets himself and how he conducts himself in public. And I think that that's a big part of the beef that's going around right now. There are a lot of people who are defending Richard, and then there are other people who are criticizing the way that he says things that are not as formal and are not as traditional. And so there's this debate going on where on one hand, people are upset at some of the topics that Richard chooses to discuss, and other people, they point out that he should have free speech and he should be allowed to market however he wants, even if it's in a way that gets him noticed for outrageousness or gets noticed for reasons that aren't something that you would talk to your traditional grandmother or mother about. And so I think that overall, I'm pleased when the community can stick together even when they disagree. And I think that's an important way for us to measure our success in our ability to tolerate each other's differences. And this is an important point, in society in general. We are just a community of people that is brought together by one thing, and that's how we're paying our future selves with Hex, how we're, investing our money, and for some of us, our time and reputations and stuff. But whenever there's a social media space where there's competition, where you're not sure if you're promoting somebody and if you agree with everything they say or not, right? And so another point of contention is some people are criticizing people who come to other people's defense on either side of the debate of Richard can say whatever he wants, or Richard should be trying to attract legacy finance people by being less outrageous. And so it's worth talking about. And if everybody's not going to get super divisive about it, right? Now, so that's one way that we can turn a negative thing, people saying, oh, there's so much drama, that's not cool, I don't like that. Having difference of opinion and allowing people to tolerate it and to have the intellectual debate, or show both sides of an argument, find value out of both sides, learn something on both sides, right? That could be part of that, how we measure the health of our community. And so while some people, they don't really want to tune in for that, for the drama and that sort of thing, other people, they really enjoy it. And no matter which person you are, I think there is this one perspective of it's positive if we can all get along despite having differences. One example would be how the show Quant Gang survived for so long with people who had such different points of view on everything. We did over a year of weekly episodes. We did multiple hundreds of hours of content. And I still consider it to be a partial miracle that we were able to bring in so many co-hosts, the 4 or 5 regular co-hosts that you saw on the show, people who could all have a totally different opinion about what you should do, about pulse, sacrificing, about what we would predict would happen in the ecosystem, discussing game theory and fundamentals, macroeconomics. I mean, I think a lot of people would agree that a ton of value was created from those differences in opinion, all among respected experts. And so I hope that the community continues to pay attention to people who are able to respectfully disagree with each other and are able to add value to the space. That's my hope and my positive spin on any of the drama that's going on now. There are also accusations that that a certain hex whale, Rackham, or also known as Overwatch, was involved in some ICO stuff back in 2017. Motley, the investor, was highlighting that in a stream earlier today with RG3 and Crypto Stylist and Rags to Riches. And so they covered the topic partially, but there's there's a reason to look into people's pasts and to ask for an explanation. And that, I think, helps us to keep our broadcasters honest and responsible for promoting people that end up being bad actors. That's something we all have to watch out for in a space where we're enjoying so much success if you look at a long enough time scale. And certainly there's negative emotions to be had in a bear market, and at the same time, in a bear market is when our investment thesis is really tested and our emotional resilience is tested, and winners and losers are chosen more probably in downswings than when the line goes straight up for so long. I think the link is broken. Oh, okay. Maybe it's just t.me/hex meetup without plural. Yep, that's what it was. My bad. Thanks for catching that, chat. So if you want to find out about Midwest meetups or about Hex conferences and different stuff like that are going to be going on this summer, go to t.me/hex meetup, singular, not meetups. So I'll put that on the screen here too. Let's see. Hello to Tracy, Melv Tony, good to see you. Jerry, what's up? Your mental and physical well-being is on a green candle. Well, that's one way to look at it. And hopefully you're working on getting other skills to compensate for that. I know my Wi-Fi signal is kind of cutting in and out, so hopefully I don't go offline here, but if I do, I'll respawn. My pleasure for explaining. KD, how's it going? My online ghost. Good evening, everyone. DB Cooper says free speech doesn't exist. I lost my Twitter for telling a silly joke. No chance of getting it back. Sorry to hear that. That's not cool. Yeah, professional comedians getting blue checks. Can you use the time machine and give us the launch date, please? Well, I think that would require me buying some plutonium, which I can't do because I'm all out of hex, because I sacrificed it and time locked it. So no luck there. Kevin says, I actually love that RH is unfiltered. It will repel the type of closed-minded, conventional people, allowing more time for open-minded progressive types to get in at cheaper rates. Good point. Pulse Train was a sacrifice for free speech. Good point. Good evening, Paul. Abit, hey, good to see you, man. So I hear that there is an auction that's going on KSB.TV for the different vehicles, the different hex wrapped vehicles that were taken around the country during the hex meetups that happened as a part of the US Crypto Sparbox Hex Tour. So I'm going to share my screen here and we can take a look at the website. I think that there are 3 more days at least, or only, until that auction may end. And so people can learn about it more at ksb.tv. I'll drop the link here. That's ksb.tv. And they're gearing up for another tour themselves, the Million Pulse Tour, which will hit a number of cities here all across the US. It looks like just as many or maybe even more as the 40 cities that they hit before. And those final dates will be announced once Pulse Chain launches, I believe. There are some events that are tentatively coming up here in the middle to end of June and July. And just a bunch of really cool resources here. Shout out to Abit for putting this site together so that people can learn more. Under sponsorship, there are auctions. And here is a really cool video that shows the hex car that's being auctioned off. There are rules here about the minimum bid starting at $85,000 and going through this Sunday, May 22nd. Oh, wow. And it looks like there are already bids up to $98,000 that have been submitted. That's outstanding. And so shout out to everybody who's in that auction and anybody who's interested. Let us know if you win, that you heard about it from here. Bristology says either you die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. I think that's a Batman quote or something. If you always tell the truth, you will never have to remember what you said to someone. Randolph says, volatility in crypto has taught me a lot about my emotions. Absolutely. Yeah. And there are some things that you learn about your market emotions, your emotions about being in a volatile market, things that are very hard to learn from a book or from hearing about somebody else's experience. Actually having skin in the game and practicing the skills of delaying gratification or time locking or whatever it is really important. I think that people are probably underprepared to hold on to the mad gains that are possible in Pulse and Pulse X if the majority of your crypto experience has been in Hex, because Hex allows you to time lock. And so you don't have to challenge yourself every day to not sell when the price goes up another 10x time and time again. And so that's why I think that these Hex therapy streams and Pulse therapy streams will continue to be helpful for people going forward, because during times when I've experienced myself being impatient with the markets or feeling down about a price dip when I, hadn't mastered the skills that I can now thankfully teach other people and try to model for others. It really helped me at times to go on YouTube and to see people who were being positive even during downturns. The price of Hex right now is, gotten down to 10 or 11 cents. And in the past month or two, it's been all the way up to 20 cents. And so that's a lot of volatility to stomach for people, especially when you don't have that experience before of seeing dips as normal and as opportunities to either continue to dollar cost average in or to just be patient and wait. Rocket Mob says the Hex contract doesn't care about any drama. What's up, Hex Siren? Everybody wants the car, says David. Check out the sponsorship, guys. $50 contribution for a ticket in a city of your choice. There you go. Another way that you can support Crypto Sparbach and Eben and Patrick. Lucky for us, Hex taught us about what we will need to do with Pulse and PLSX. Yeah, to do nothing. It's a good time to lose all your money in life at least once, I think. Or it's good to lose, not a good time. Yeah, well, I think that people can learn in different ways, and the faster and cheaper somebody can learn something, the better. But definitely having some skin in the game probably makes it real for people at a certain level. And finding that right amount is kind of an interesting question. When I created tshare.app, a front end for onboarding people to Hex that you and anybody can use to onboard people that you know in your life. It was originally designed to allow people to onboard in between $200 and $500. Well, in between like $50 and $500 as a good starting point, a place where people could have that right level of risk and skin in the game. What's up, Jimrat Crypto? Somebody who's streaming a lot. Make sure to check him out on YouTube and all the other places. Yeah, it's been really hot this summer already, hasn't it? So cool. Well, yeah, but there's hopefully there's going to be some really cool announcements this week that I can make, not only about the online Pulse conference that I'm planning for. That'll be July 14th through 16th, and I'm getting ready to announce all the different speakers. It's going to be way better than any of the other events I've ever done. So it'll be an all-time best list of speakers. And then there's also going to be something I'm putting together here in about a week and a half from now in the Chicago area. And so people can stay tuned for that, and you can find out how awesome that's going to be. I don't want to give away the details because they're not finalized yet, but I've got some really cool ideas for a way that we can bring a lot of new users and new attention into the Hex ecosystem, and also highlight some amazing ways that Hexicans are giving back. So it's something to look forward to. Let's see. What other questions do people have? This is your chance to ask questions. Otherwise, I am going to switch gears and talk about something else, and then maybe we can come back in a little bit and then cut this episode a little bit short. I'm not sure. Let's see. It's great that Richard has decided to address the many code quality issues that the audit has found before the Pulse Chain mainnet launch. Nobody wants his products to suffer issues like Solana and others. I agree that it's really important to catch all of the bugs. Richard said in one of his interviews this week that this is not something that would create a critical vulnerability in the code. However, it would be something that would cause the ecosystem to be paused. And he doesn't like the idea of launching something that could have the known possibility of having to be paused if somebody tried to exploit a certain thing. And all of us can agree that having 100% uptime in a blockchain is highly preferable. And so I think that's really good. Jim Rat Crypto says he's excited to meet Hexicans. Absolutely. And that's why having so many opportunities and Hexicans traveling all around the United States and all around the world to do meetups is it's definitely worth the chance to go to one of these things and to see all the positive energy that's there, even when the market is down. That's something that's really impressed me. Oh, Johnny Chaos, what's going on? Good to see you here. No worries. I will give you a call later on today, and then we can get the word out about this meetup that's going to be happening in the Midwest here. Crypto Gains Club 369 says, let's get the likes up to 90. That's right. Let's get live. Let's get them up to 90 and get them up to 300 on the replay. How about that? Or get them up to 555. There you go. Yes, people's anticipation is still going to be building over and over again until Pulse Chain launches. One of the things that I haven't highlighted again that needs going over is that during this last Game Theory Gang episode that we had a couple days ago on Tuesday, make sure to watch that if you haven't seen it yet, because there was tons of game theory about the Pulse Chain launch that we haven't ever heard people say before. It was new strategies, and there were people in the chat saying, like, why are you telling some of the guests, why are you giving away those awesome strategies for the launch? Like, which of course is funny because, like, I don't know, they could have kept it to themselves, but they wanted to share it on the show. So that always gets me excited whenever I'm learning things that are new to me, when we've all spent so much time studying Hex and Pulse Chain and PulseX, but we're still able to learn new things when so many experts get together and break down the game theory and do thought experiments, breaking down different angles for how people can play the launch and to think differently than everybody else is thinking can be really helpful. Yeah, Johnny was on a stream earlier today with Hexologist and Hexplosive Artist, and it was a great stream. I definitely caught at least the last half of it. We have a question from Randolph here. After the fork, can ERC20s be bridged into the ecosystem? And on the Pulse chain, will they be ERC20 and PRC20? Likewise, P ERC20 can be bridged out to Ethereum. Does that make sense? Yes. It looks like your understanding is correct, and your nomenclature is how I would probably refer to it as well. So after the fork, you can take your Ethereum cryptos and you can bridge them across to Pulse Chain. And it's just like having wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum. Depending on how trustworthy the bridge is, normally it will trade equal to what it's trading on its chain of origin. So if Bitcoin is trading at $30,000 on the Bitcoin network and you have wrapped Bitcoin on the Ethereum network, normally that would trade for $30,000 as well, about one for one. And so I know that a lot of people, they will take their stable coin like USDC or DAI, and they'll bridge that in from Ethereum after the fork. And they're not going to be pairing it with their PRC copy of those coins, because that would set them up for a really bad and permanent loss, because the stable coins aren't backed by anything on the Pulse network like they are on the Ethereum network. The collateral does not get copied over exactly in those situations, and certainly for USDC. So you also will technically be able to bridge your Pulse crypto tokens to the Ethereum chain. And that is probably going to involve paying much higher fees than normal. But as we've seen, again, in the same example of Bitcoin being wrapped on the Ethereum chain, it's totally possible that you could have PHEX and you could bridge it over onto the Ethereum chain, and you could trade that against certain things. That will only happen to the extent that I think it's popular for people to do that, or that there's some like value created by that. And I don't think everybody's thought out like all the possible reasons somebody would do that. Maybe some people have like a plan or something, but I think that in general, there's going to be much more participation of people wrapping things on Ethereum and bridging them to Pulse because the Ethereum has the on and off ramps, but the high fees. And so those are the trade-offs that make it attractive to, trade your E-Link on the Pulse chain and trade your P-Link on the Pulse chain as separate assets. And not at an equal price, but just it's cheaper to move things around on the Pulse network. Now, at the same time, some people will not be familiar and trusting of the Ethereum, of the Pulse network, and so some people at first will prefer the higher fees. Although the more good experiences people have, the more likely certain communities might migrate over at first using their Pulse copies, their P-Link or whatever ERC20 it is that they have copied at the fork. They'll be worried about playing with those first, trading those around, seeing what they can do with that free, quote unquote, free money, the free copy that they got. And then I think people will be much more reluctant, but some more willing than others to bridge that over their Ethereum copies that they're more familiar with the risks and rewards of. So it's a good question. Let's see. Kevin is asking, do you still have the same position on projects like Maxi and Hedron? Do you still believe the disadvantages of those projects outweigh the benefits? I think that anything can pump to the moon, even Dogecoin, which doesn't have a whole lot of utility and is just basically something that goes viral because it's not complicated for people to understand. I'm gambling on this dog like token basically. And so like people like dogs, people like gambling, people like stories of people getting rich in crypto. And, for every dollar invested in a coin that does super well, there are going to be other projects that are trying to clout chase and are trying to entice people for the wrong reasons. I think it's really actually interesting, and I don't hear people talk about this too much, but like, why is it that the whales in Dogecoin like resisted selling? Like how you must have had some strong hands for the price to pump so much, and some intrinsic value of like LOL of like the fact that meme coins are easy for people to market. Like people enjoy marketing meme coins who don't have other technical competencies to fall back on. So in terms of like, so that's like just in terms of like, does something have any utility at all? Or like, does it have a use case that makes sense? Like that's probably not related to whether you see or whether I see these as like, valuable or not, cause like it's one thing to lose your money. It's another thing to like break something that's working. And that is the more serious thing that I had raised concerns about. And to clarify where my position stands now on those things is I'm glad I brought it up, even though I'm not glad I brought it up. So like, I'm glad I brought it up from like a broadcaster integrity perspective. And because it gave me an opportunity to learn from a lot of people who agreed and disagreed with me. I also got a lot of hate for it and lost about like half of my friends in crypto and like half of my audience at the time. And that did not feel good to say something that was unpopular and have to like, pay the cost for it. And so, if I could get in the DeLorean and go back and do things differently, maybe I would have brought it to people's attention in a less extreme way. Because then I would have still gotten to like be on the timeline where I learned everything, but then I could go back and like, soften my language so not as many people would get upset. That'd be pretty cool. But in general, like I've accepted that it was a big learning experience for me, not just when it comes to are tradable hex stakes good or bad for the ecosystem, but also like how do you deal with being a broadcaster who's saying things that are unpopular. So I am less concerned about tradable stakes than I was previously, because I think that they are similar to liquid hex, more similar than I realized at first. And even if you do get APY that you're not having to lock up for, and you're not having to pay the cost of holding up the price and not selling, you're giving up your right to sell when you're time locking and it's not tradable, right? So normal staking as it existed in the first 2 years of Hex is like very one-for-one related to like how much you're holding up the price. It's like how much interest you're getting in terms of your overall share in the system. That no longer being the case, I think, is not super bad for the system, because the majority of price appreciation comes from onboarding. And what we've already seen, this is something I haven't necessarily pointed out before, but what we've seen is that some people who take their gains in Hex, or who were, who have already started to cash out some of their bags, they're reinvesting in the community. They're promoting Hex. They're sponsoring NASCARs. They're sending out 200,000 postcards to people. They're buying a DeLorean and going around the country, like promoting Hex, right? So there are different ways that people are giving back. And so, again, if the Hex community, if it reinvests in itself and does so, in a way that's completely voluntary, that makes it even better. I think that people are taking upon themselves to pump their own bags and to get past the gatekeeping and to not have to pay Facebook and Google all the time in order to reach an audience that ultimately isn't going to value and isn't going to hear the message in a way that's as organic or as decentralized or as, just like hits the same as when people such as ourselves have to go out of our way to get the truth out or to get past the gatekeeping, right? And so, so I think that like, even if people are cashing out with their tradable stakes along the way, even if they're hurting themselves a little bit, they're still getting exposure to something that's very close to what's been benefiting a lot of other people. And I think that more products and more solutions will get implemented to give people more tools in order to have different ways to save. And so, because 40% APY seems like a lot, but in the end, the 1,000,000% APY or 500,000% APY is really coming from increasing adoption. And so whether tradable stakes like increase adoption or not, and whether or not they like take away from what could have been, I think at the end of the day, it's like it could still have unintended consequences, and it could still be not as good as Hex could have been, but that overall it's like it's not going to ruin anything, and it's an extension of liquid shares, and it's a little bit of incentive being paid to people who are not really doing the thing that the incentive was designed for, but it's not so much that it's going to wreck anything. So one guest said, my plan, but I'll still keep it a secret. There you go. Yeah, make people work for it to do the minimum amount of work to go back to the Tuesday episode of Game Theory Gang, episode number 10, and to like find in the middle or like in the second 2/3 of the stream. But it actually, I think it was probably the entire stream that people were dropping alpha. So there you go. There would be a duplicate of the PERC20 that are theoretically worth nothing. For USDC, the Pulse copy is not going to be valuable. What's going on, everybody? Melv Tony says Hex is 10.9 cents. Shout out to everybody who's watching live. Hit the like and subscribe button. I'm really trying to get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's a personal goal of mine, and we're getting there. You know, the viewership, the number of subscribers is going up like at least 100 every week. And so we're on track. But if any of you are out there listening and you haven't subscribed, it would mean a lot if you could just hit the subscribe button there and share it out with anybody else that you think will be find it helpful. Right now we're at like 8.8 thousand subscribers. I guess a lot of value will move from other chains to Pulse Chain. It's cheaper and faster to do stuff. It's way more attractive if it doesn't have bugs and it's flawless. In theory, it's already superior. Yes, the game theory, who's being included, who's getting the free coins, it's really awesome. It's not been done before in crypto. And it's worth doing. So, yeah, you know, people tend to talk their bags, and a lot of people have bags of Hedron and Maxi and stuff. And it's okay for people to make predictions that they think it's going to go up a lot. You know, if you hold that, you're probably going to promote it. If you don't, you're probably less likely to promote it. But in the end, I think there are a lot of people who are choosing or learning to promote Hex and not everything else, or to promote Richard Hart things and not everything else, or they're trying to be inclusive and then they haven't yet come across like any of the rug pulls that have been built in the Hex ecosystem before. Like, so, you know, it's like everybody has their own level of experience and their own risk tolerance. And like, you know, we all want to promote people who are doing hard work, but at the same time, statistically speaking and game theory wise speaking, the more people and projects that you promote, the more likely you are to accidentally scam your audience. But that's okay. You know, it's part of tolerating the differences in our community is just at least being honest with ourselves, hopefully in our audiences on like, you know, here's more opportunity, but also here's more risk. And some people are only going to learn from experience and having skin in the game. Hex Siren, you're awesome, Maddie. Your integrity and honesty is refreshing. Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. It's not always easy to do what is unpopular. We appreciate your care, Maddie. You didn't know better at the time. I absolutely understand. Also, when it wasn't right. I hope others can forgive you soon. Yeah, me too. If there is a positive externality, people will build towards that. We would rather this be Hexkins now or legacy later. Thanks for saying you love my work. You bring a lot of energy to the community, and I am always happy to see that you're live streaming so often every day, getting the word out. Shout out to you. Don't agree with anything, but I love his, or with everything, but I love his conviction and that he actually studies. Yes. Would love to see Maddie do a sudden wealth syndrome episode with Jim Rat Crypto on Hex in the Morning. Yeah, that'd be fun. I went on his show. You can find it in the community tab. Last time Hexologist was on with him, I was able to be there in like the last 30 minutes of the episode, and we had a great thing. So very good. And yeah, you can find that in my community tab to go straight to like the time marker where we did our show. Our BEP20 tokens copied also, just asking because I made a BSC BEP20 with an ERC20 contract. I don't think so. I don't think Binance coins automatically get copied. It depends how you set up your Binance coin. Yeah. Jim Rat Crypto and I are like pumped to be able to stream together because we're both caring about people's personal development, mental health, and crypto. It's a really similar. Jory Hex, shout out to you. Good to see you here. You're going to be one of the guests on the next episode of Game Theory Gang. And we've really enjoyed seeing you showcasing how amazing people can, how amazing it can be to, be out there with Abit and Patrick and really learning everything that you can learn about Hex and Pulse Chain and everything. Let's see here. So there is one more bit of positivity that I wanted to share with everybody. And this is, we could just go to this thread. So I want to share this thread. It's from like a week or two ago, from a couple weeks ago. And it may have gotten lost in all the noise. But here is a super positive thread that Richard started and that all these hexagons weighed in on. So I want to go over this live for people who don't have Twitter or get too triggered by Twitter or something. Let me get the screen dimensions right here. And I will share. I'll start reading some of these comments because I think that they're so great. I think that they really showcase some of the better things in our community. So this is from May 4th. Richard said, bragging thread, flex in this thread as hard as you can in a single tweet. Okay, and then Richard brags in talking about all the things that that he normally talks about, which is fun. Oh, this is amazing. So the Great Delusionist posted a picture of him with the Hex car and Abit at the Hex conference because it's got the Excalibur in the background. And the Great Delusionist is doing an epic flip over the Hex car and looks impossibly suspended over the car. Super cool Hex flex. Hex Cadet, who made the best recap video of all time for Hex 2 years in a row, said, I bought a bunch of T-shares and they keep getting more scarce. That's a cool Hex flex. Hexray Vision, one of our known streamers, said, I'm financially free and can share the process with others. That's an awesome thing to say. Fiat.io, we had them on here on the last Game Theory Gang, said, made millions listening to Richard carefully and buying Hex on Bidesk for 1 sat when everyone hated on him. Just raised millions in seconds to make Pulse Chain more complete from my fellow Hexicans and working my ass off to make Hex more valuable every day. There you go. Red and White Hexican says, was a employee, now an employer. Whoa. Nick Hex says, I bought a G6 private jet with my gains and posted a video of that. They got over 10,000 views. So cool. Freepulse.io posted their number of users between January and May was 107,000. So massive onboarding going on there. Our very own #1 streamer Hexologist said, thanks to Hex, I got to buy my dream car, the Honda Civic Type R1 of 600. Then he posted a beautiful picture of himself with his super yellow. It's almost like the yellow that we see at the beginning of the hex gradient. Very cool car there. Hexen says, I created the world's most robust physical crypto storage solution. It is a case-hardened 1.5-inch thick titanium hexagon made up of 13 titanium slabs, a piece of armor at each end of the stack, and a hand-forged titanium bracket to hold it all together. It shows a video of the production process. That is fantastic. It's a really cool cold wallet solution, people. If you want to hold on to your mad gains in Pulse Chain, you might have to go with cold storage like I did, which it can be in many forms, and you want to be super careful to do it right. Marco the Hexagon says, I was lucky to obtain generational wealth in under 2 years because of a beautiful man named RH and the most unbelievable community/family, the Hexagons. P.S. I also waited 4 more weeks for Pulse Chain. There you go. That's a beautiful picture of Marco there. Also at the Hex conference. I think that's when he walked up and accepted the award for the game theory gang, for Quant Gang. Our very own famous TikToker, Super Hex, gives his testimonial here in the HexFlex thread and says, Hex allowed me the ability not just to buy a bunch of cool stuff and experiences for myself, but also I was able to give back to my friends and family also. And he shows pictures of him being on a yacht and driving a expensive car, maybe a Lambo there, and having rides on a private jet, and a cool picture of him in the mountains with a red Lamborghini. Very nice. Jimmer at Crypto says, I'm broke and people listen to me. Very cool. Shout out to you. Hex Kong says that he owns his own home and is financially free thanks to Hex. Those are some beautiful vehicles there too. Wow, look at that, the finish on that BMW. So cool, like gunmetal type of finish. Happy retirement. And a really cool Hex ring. Wow. I like that for sure. Big Kirkowski says, I throw out the first pitch at a Cubs game in June, have helped create more millionaires than I have fingers, and I'm featured in the Highest of Stakes documentary. I gave away millions of Hex through my charity and still party every Friday on cabanacrypto.com. My fam and crew is better than yours. Rom Override says, I'm 23, doing what I want when I want to do it, mostly helping other people because it makes me feel good. Don't own much besides a shitload of T-shares and SAC points. FU money kicking everyone who hates and are jealous instead of learning. Robert says he's a retired self-made millionaire, no college debt, no college, no debt, and I'm with the most beautiful woman in the world. Hexagon for life. Also own 2 supercars and another 2 luxury cars, and have 4 adorable kids who are already in the Quattro Cinco Club. Shout out to you. Very cute girlfriend, who's also a promoter of Hex. Mexican Hexagon says, thanks to Hex, I could afford to buy more than 5 Taco Bell franchises if I wanted to. I'm not going to buy any, though. Much easier and more profitable to restake Hex. Dixon Piper says, never sold a single Hex for fiat in my life, but I blew a semi motor and a tire already today, and it doesn't bother me because I'm shit-ass rich on paper. There you go. Nerd Girl says, my daughter will never have to worry about working for a wage. Very soon, neither will I. Lights Out says, iPhone watch with 93 diamonds. Whoa. Happy Mother's Day. There you go. Had to bust out the Prada shoes for the summer. Victor from Hex Fan Network, who is has his profile picture of him sitting in the DeLorean there at the Hex conference in Vegas that I hosted. Says, Hex has legitimately changed the trajectory of the rest of mine and my family's life. My flex is peace of mind. I see the vision, I see the community and the growth. Mentally, I'm in a better place holding what's quite possibly the best financial product in existence. Pulse Alchemist says, I have mastered discipline over my impulses for the first time in my life, thanks to Hex. Ooh, that deserves a retweet because I used to study impulsivity in grad school. And I think that any major behavioral changes in people's lives due to crypto, that's something that I really want to publicize and make sure people understand that it's a possibility that you can pay your future self, and end up with a better people, places, and things to show for it. Crypto Kowalski says, was able to take my kids on a Disney trip. Not a super flex, but I didn't have to sell any crypto to do it and won't sell for quite a while. Very cute picture of you with your kid next to the castle. I already liked that one. Jimmy Diamond says, I'm financially free at 35 thanks to Hex. I no longer have to work to cover my cost of living, so I can spend all my time doing things I enjoy and improving my mind, body, and spirit. Hashtag TYRH. Here we go. We know Kincaid Honey is one of the members of our community that has a special place in my heart because he had a really moving testimony at the Hex conference. He's got pictures of this here. Let's read what he has to say. At 19 years old, now 20, I have donated over $5,500 to longevity research at Sen's Tweet and at M Foundation, $1,000 to the Highest of Stakes documentary, got many friends to create life-changing wealth by investing into Hex.com early, and was able to pay for a trip to Vegas for 2. You have great pictures here of being streaming with Richard Hart at the Hex conference, and a picture of you in the Hex wrapped car outside of the Excalibur. Looks like you went to the top of the world restaurant, just like my girlfriend and I did when we were there. Beautiful place in the stratosphere to have dinner, and there, probably you and your girlfriend, or whoever your guest was. Very, very lovely to see those happy faces. Dolomite says, having time to myself and my kids, this is my biggest Hex flex. Good for you. Okay, here's another important one. Hex Orca, who rebranded as Crypto Curricula. This is the holder of the world record for longest Twitter Spaces host, says, I've never given up on my older brother. He's battled substance abuse for 17 years. I've messaged him every single day to remind him I love him. My brother is now 3 months sober by choice. He told me it meant everything that I was always there for him, even when he wasn't. Super awesome comment. 678 likes. Very, very awesome. Stan, Moon Fund CEO, says, I only travel by chopper. Has a video of him in a helicopter. Laid back Hex 33. Well, I flexed to come see you in London for the Hex gathering 731. London ain't cheap. What an honor to meet you, RH. Thanks for all that you do. And recently got a bicycle to stay fit out there, peeps. Good job. Crypto Gains Club, who's often in the chat here, says, my staking length average is longer than RH's PP. Hashtag HexFlex. Very cool. Telmo says, retired before 40, living meters away from one of the best beaches in the world, kids staked 5,555 days with a bright future ahead. And it looks like you have a special Visa card that says Hex Cuatro Cinco Club on it with a Louis Vuitton envelope. Right on. Johnny Chaos says he bought another 200K Hex instead of Bitcoin at the same price. Very cool. Okay, Phil says that he made a stencil of Hex before the start of it. People called it 2 hours of wasted time on YouTube. I put in all my 20% of a Bitcoin right at the start, staked it, and trusted Richard. Now I am financially free, ready to marry my beautiful girl, Elisa, the one with the Hex cap. Wonderful. I love that. And the video switched to her just in time to see the hat that you made. So cool. Look at that. Max says no longer relying on stonks and baby gains for financial freedom since Richard Hart made crypto make sense for me in 2017. Dolomite showing off a very cool place. It looks like he stayed. Uger Hex 5555. I think a real flex for you would be claiming you're probably the best at asset allocation in the last decade, for sure. Hodprol, who's been on our streams before, says, I'm lucky enough to have met the greatest crypto community on the planet right before the Pulse Chain fork and amidst isolation. I'll never forget this exciting time in my life. Thank you. Thank all of you Hexicans for being here with me. It's honestly worth more than money can buy. Hexican of Pulse Street built no bot. Anyone can buy a Lambo. Not many can build a car that beats a Lambo. Mad skills at shredding tires is my biggest flex. So it looks like you've built your own race car here. That's really cool. Dolomite posted a picture again from the Hex conference that I hosted, but this was from a side event that looks like it was super well attended. Awesome. Yikes says that he bought a house he never dreamed of owning at his age, and a picture of him and it looks like his partner there outside the front of a super nice house. Jackie says one of only 200 bottles made, as this is a US release bottle, not my most expensive item, but certainly my rarest and one that is unable to be recreated. Wow. A special bottle from 1984. Here's one I really like. This we got to make a video just for this, but here's Hex Deck 16, who is one of the major supporters at in terms of volunteers at the Hex conference. So many of you may have been checked in by him. I love his testimonial here. He says, as an automotive detailer, I collected loose change out of traded in vehicles, telling my coworkers I was going to be a millionaire investing in crypto. I bought Hex day one, and today I am a millionaire. And here's a picture of him and his detailing work and a picture of the loose change that he collected in order just from that amount to become a millionaire in Hex. So amazing. I bought Hex instead of BTC. That's the flex. Enough said. Boom. Hex Mackenzie, one of our community's greatest graphic designers, says in 2018, negative 60K to DPT. 2020, retired from Hex, retired so hard that even with the 62% discount, I would not have to work a single day in my life again. Full-time Hexican, full-time traveler, family maximalist with a cool graphic there. Very nice. Sammy Chica says, low ranking squid, got everything I need, not really a show off, like to make my own money, still get offered all the time, plan to devote my life to charity, once I'm truly rich AF. Andy says he sold his BMW for the Pulse X sacrifice, and will be a millionaire in the next year. Shill It says my Shiba Inu Free was born with hip dysplasia. At the age of 9, he couldn't walk. So either I put him down or ... never leave your homies behind. And it looks like this Shiba Inu got the surgery that it needed in order to do well. 3 years of operations and physical rehabilitation later, homie can rest and walk again. Oh, very cool. Look at that picture. Amazing. Danny says, got to meet, chat with, and smoke a spliff with my brother Huddle Dog. Good times. And the picture to prove it. Very cool. Joel was able to pay off my student loans and get myself this amazing Audi Q2. Also, I can now do work that I want instead of work I have to do, all because of Hex. And a cool picture to prove it. There you are, looking great next to your vehicle. Freddie Quotes said my parents never owned a home until their 50s and then lost it all in the recession of 2008. Last year, I was able to retire both of them in their 60s. Shout out to you. This goes on and on. Wow, there's more people watching than when I last looked. I'm reading through this because I think it's so important to spread the positivity, to make sure that these positive stories, they get as much airtime as they possibly can. Because even though Hex is experiencing a dip now, there are all these people. The reason that they were able to report such a positive experience is because they held during the previous dips, because they were willing to wait longer and be more patient than everybody else. Hey, look, it's Hex Deck 16 who is in the live chat and just dropped a comment after hearing about that, or after hearing, and can back up and say that there was $1,420 worth of change in total that turned you into a millionaire. That's amazing. So let's go through a few more. It seems like people are tuning in and appreciating this. So, hit the like and subscribe button, and maybe if you add to this post right now, maybe your comment will show up here. It looks like there are just hundreds of awesome comments. Almost too many to go through. Crypto Sicario Hexakin. Sorry if I mispronounce any of these names. Retired at 34 because of Richard Hart Wynn. Got a lifetime of wealth and gratitude to enjoy. My future kids will never have financial worries. Onboarded 94 people into Hex, PulseChain, PulseX, and changed their lives forever. This is my favorite flex. Wow. Shout out to you. That's incredible. The more people who onboard like this man, the way bigger our community will be. Another Hexakin who's great at making content, Staked Wealth, dropped a link to even more Hex flexes that are here for reference. I'm going to bookmark that so I can do another segment on this if it ever comes up again. Eric Wall says, I called the Hex top of 2021. I don't know about that. You didn't link to the tweet here that's popping up, so I don't think you did. I think you're trolling. You're a major Hex troll. I'm going to downvote that. Dudley Hex. I'm resigning from a 6-figure corporate gig to do what I love. My T-shares pay more than my job. Shout out to you. Crypto King, the originator of the hashtag TYRH. I stake the world's greatest invention known to humankind. Just stake Hex. DJ Pauly Wood, shout out to you, the awesome DJ that I met who is touring the country with Crypto Sparbach. Says here, I am part of the largest family in the world, #HexFlex. And you're showing a picture of you. It looks like a bunch of other Hexicans that Hex photographer took outside of a giant boat. Maybe that was your casino trip down in Florida. Toblerus, unemployed. Toblerus, you streamed with me early on in Hex. I don't know if that's a HexFlex or you're being sarcastic or what, but hopefully you didn't get wrecked by the other communities that you were streaming with. Positive vibes to you, my friend. Fully Croissant, who I met in Omaha, who's an amazing, you've listed here some of your achievements, so let's just go over that. Built a Hex museum, yes, we featured that in the online Hex conference. Made some 3D art, collaborated on some NFTs, onboarded over 30 friends and family, taught crypto on third Thursdays, created Hex, Pulse X, and Pulse Snapchat filters. Oh, cool. How do I find those? Wait till you see what's coming. Published Hex Rocket game. Cool. I'm going to bookmark that too. How do we find the Snapchat filters? Somebody let me know. Mad Hatter, who's I think one of the game theory people in the community, says, I once ate an entire Domino's pizza in one evening, sober. Well, that is quite the Hex flex now, isn't it? Or flex in general. Staker class, that's your username, has a beautiful picture of multiple Rolexes here. Wow. Those are really cool. Hex Crypto Report. My Hex Flex is being able to move back to Puerto Rico. Congratulations. Beautiful picture there. You're now neighbors with Motley the Investor. How cool is that? Hey, it's Nardo. Wow. You know, during the Daytona 500, Nardo and I shot a little bit of content, a couple 2-minute clips that I'm looking forward to releasing because Nardo is as real as they come. And he posted simply freedom of movement and a picture of him in a very nice suit next to a super nice car that he bought for himself. Very cool. And I know he's given back to buy meals for people who are not having enough food to survive. He's been employing people who he knows and giving to mental health clinics. This guy is a really good force in the community. Raquel, becoming a Hexican and been learning for a couple weeks. I think this is somebody earlier in the thread who's engaged or girlfriend, boyfriend, something like that. But Hex to make one stake and holding a little more, learning before lunch, and super excited. HexFlex looks like a model standing next to a Lamborghini. Very cool. Redbird1 says, I flex peace of mind. Nothing in my day-to-day has changed except that I no longer worry about my ability to support their future or my own, which actually changes everything. You've got a picture of yourself smiling beautifully with your kids, with some anonymity for them. But what a beautiful picture. And I think you're Hex 19's daughter, which is amazing. Crypto Kindness says, this is such an inspiring thread. I know, right? With the help of modern science, I've survived a disease that was supposed to kill me before I turned 18, CF. I married the woman of my dreams, started a family, and we became 100% debt-free by the time I was 35. Congratulations. Wow, that's another amazing story. You go on to say, I was introduced to Richard Hart projects last summer and now hope to be blessed with the financial gains that many in this thread have experienced. Lastly, I started a YouTube channel to help crypto newbies navigate this scary space so that they can become wealthy also. Let's go. Awesome. Everybody subscribe to Crypto Kindness there. Hex Lioness says, I went all in on Hex, sold everything I owned back in Australia, booked a one-way ticket to South America, and now here I am, hodling and traveling. Shout out to you. Hex 2020 says, I have many superficial items to flex because of Richard Hart and Hex, but to me, there is no greater flex than the financial freedom of time to be with my family and be even more involved with my kids. For this, I am and will always be forever grateful. What a beautiful thing to say. Oh, this is cool. A specialized baguette diamond pinky ring, white gold tennis bracelet, VS2 small tennis bracelet. Okay, so some probably super expensive jewelry there that you're showing off. Very nice. Bought a club for my first son, built a bakery for my first baby daughter, retired my whole family, closest friends, and children, made it from nothing in the ghetto to upper class living by myself at 26, giving to every person I see in need. Onboarded 40 plus people to PulseX and Hex. Wow, that's a huge Hex flex for sure. Hip Hop Hexagon, I'm followed by Richard Hart, have DM'd Richard Hart, and he's responded. I've given my opinion, and he's acknowledged it. That's so cool. You're contributing there. Jack, I have to scroll past that one really fast so I don't get rugged by YouTube, but it looks like you were having a really great time doing a shooting range type thing. So shout out to you. And Jack has spoken at the Hex conferences. YouTube limits the ability to show people firing guns live for seemingly obvious reasons. They don't want people to get shocked by violence happening in real life. So that's a good tip for all you YouTubers out there that don't want a strike. I know Discourse Syndicate got a strike once because of showing guns on a live stream. It's okay to show them on an upload, apparently. Although I can't tell you what the latest YouTube algorithm is going to do to you, so you shouldn't take my word for it. I'm getting close to getting my freedom back, says Not Luke. For years, I've worked a job that I don't respect anymore. I didn't sell any Hex for my hobbies, but it gave me the choice to spend some extra cash. I also live in a castle. Very cool. Mr. Hex the Topic says, I would put too many people to shame. LOL, but I'll say I'm tall, dark, and handsome with an IQ of 145. Genius. There you go. Right on. You're a longtime viewer of Quant Gang and Game Theory Gang, so I'm going to hit the like button there. I work and my wife stays home, homeschooling our 4 kids. Very cool. I haven't worn actual pants in years. Thank you, Richard Hart. I live in one. Maui Hexing says, I live on one of the beautiful islands in the world. I'm very happy that I found Hex and learn everything about crypto from the best in crypto. Kinetics. I got 4. Yes, count them. 4 pairs of Hey Dudes and a 10-year-old leather jacket and a Samsung watch phone like Dick Tracy. There you go. Stake it, make it says, my flex is I own the best assets in the world, Hex, Pulse, and Pulse X. Hex Chef is showing a Mercedes vehicle with the Texas license plate, Hex PLSX. So cool. Yoden says 2019, wage slave with no security. 2020, retired early, set up for generations, ready to travel the world and be a force for good. Check out some of my story here on this YouTube channel. Everybody make sure to follow this thread. I'm going to drop it again in the comments and check out some of these YouTube channels being shared. Very cool. Very cool. If I forgot to hit the like button on one of these, it's nothing personal, just scrolling and streaming and reading and doing all these things. Carlos says, I only fly first class. I only drive black Porsches. I don't worry about the future. That deserves more likes, I think. Hex and PulseOG.pls. My flex. Thanks to Richard Hart, I stopped gambling, stopped margin trading, stopped listening to Furus. RH only is the way. Also, dream house, dream car, dream misses, dream watches, bossing life. You get a retweet, my friend. That is awesome. Hemlock says, easy. The only investments that I have ever made in the crypto space are exclusively Richard Hart projects. Hex Luther, I'm 28 and don't have a driver's license, also retired, blah, blah. T-Bird, Hex saved me. Jay-Z Hexing is shouting out their partner, it looks like. She trusts me, believes in me, lives with me, has patience with me, is proud of me, supports me, laughs with me, cries with me, dreams with me, stands alongside me, solves life's challenges with me, makes sacrifices for me, invests with and loves me. Thank you, Christy Todd 71. That's incredible. Well done. Ram Override is observing, haha, this thread is kicking haters and the rest of crypto in the balls like nothing else. Hexicans are truly living their best lives while everything around us sucks. Brent Morrissey, one of Richard Hart's OG friends, says, I now drink real Coca-Cola and not the supermarket's brand. LOL. Lazor says, retired. That's the tweet. Thank you, Richard Hart. Pulse Orca, my backstage in the green room telling the band that if they want better shoes, they better buy Hex. What a shoe collection you have. Hex Addict, yesterday I had 2 different DoorDash orders at the same time because my kids wanted different shit. Now that's a Hex flex. Wow. That's funny. I like that. Jaffas was able to get my 18-year-old this Dodge Challenger on his birthday so he could flex. I was also able to send him for private pilot lessons, and he got his private pilot's license the same year, and last week got his commercial license. Now he's working on multi-engine. Wow, congratulations. Bezo T, I haven't even started yet. Never sold a single Hex. Watch from my birth year. Beautiful. Hexadecimal, my Hex flex is I used the knowledge and vibe I get from Richard and the Hex community to build a passive income. I haven't sold almost any of my gains because I want to see $100 Hex and a picture, a very psychedelic picture, the Hypno Toad from Futurama, and says, buy Hex. Crypto Summer says, this is my new Ferrari. Beautiful. Jack Hex, I got to take my mom and dad on a once-in-a-lifetime dream vacation, everything paid first class for them to Puerto Rico. And my husband got to retire 21 years early from federal work. Now we go out and have fun every day because of Hex. I'm retired too. Love you, Richard. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. Hex blessed. Many years ago, I was a hopeless alcoholic and drug addict. 6 years ago, I filed bankruptcy and had my home foreclosed. I've been slaving away at my job 10 plus hours a day for over 33 years. Thanks to Richard Hart and Hex, I'll be able to retire soon and never have to work again. Shout out to you. And I hope that you have found sobriety to also be helpful. Hope that that's going well. Ridgy says, dream house has been designed and planning permission approved. Construction starts in August. Wow, look at that. So cool. Beautiful schematics. Storyteller says, I'm a Hex OG and haven't sold a single coin. PulseChainWhale.crypto, the only Nigerian kid from the trenches in my city who sacrificed big for PulseChain and PulseX, multiple Quattro Cinco stakes, retired last 2021 of Hex. Congratulations to you, my friend. Crypto Lackey. I have helped hundreds, if not thousands of people quit online poker by fleecing them heads up in such a devastating fashion that they think it must have been rigged for them to lose so systematically. I've also donated a large chunk of my winnings to the SENS Foundation. You get a follow because I love hearing that people are donating to the SENS Foundation. And I am too. Richard said haha to that. Danny says, for realsies though, upgraded my wife's wedding ring and bought her a 3-carat anniversary tennis bracelet. Uncle Kevin, Hex has bought me the peace of mind of knowing that my finances have been settled for me and my family for the rest of my life. This is truly priceless. D Hexistentialist, 3 times Ironman, first at age 19. Awesome. So I hope this was useful for people to hear all the positivity in the Hex community, and people can go and read for themselves. But I wanted to share this because I think having it spoken and having the reaction video and everything, it's haven't tried this before, and I think whenever I think about what has been positive for me that I've seen on Twitter, it hasn't been a whole lot. It hasn't been everything lately. So that's why I thought it'd be helpful to revisit this material. And if you want to see more, you can go to that thread. I'm going to see if I can post it here again in the live stream. And so people can check that out and see all the stories there. And you can add your own, please. Share your Hex flex. Please tell your story of how Hex has benefited you. Crypto Gains Club says, I recommend that all the new coming Pulsicans and Pulsexicans get that sudden wealth syndrome therapy in. This is the right place to do it. What's up, Ash? Good to see you there. Jacob, Dingo Wolf, Jory, are you serious? I don't think we know when Pulse Chain's going to launch. Johnny Chaos, about to hit 5,555 followers. I am not doing this low-key thing very well. Well, we're lucky to have you, Johnny. Great tweet. Jim Davis, appreciate you sharing your knowledge. My pleasure. Extravagant taste. Taste is in the place. Lick that like button. What's up, Maddie? Love the content. What's up, J Pond? Warped Impulse. Thanks for your stream. Psyched for Pulse and happily staking. Night, everyone. Good evening, Puppy. Bobby Huxelrod. Yamazaki, 1984. So you recognize that bottle of whiskey or whatever that somebody was hex flexing. Jackie, was it? Or hey, that's my face. Hex stack. There you go. Brasology. Need therapy after this week. Yeah, there's been some ups and downs in the market for sure. Stop trading. And practice doing your own research, not over investing. Practice buying on a down day and selling on an up day, or holding for longer periods of time. Dollar cost average in, dollar cost average out. CI says, pro tip, never sell your principal. Keep your hex printer alive while holding the price up. Win-win, no trading and risk needed. Yoden, all right. So a lot of people I'm shouting out, you're watching, and maybe you wouldn't have commented if I didn't bring up your name and shout you out on that Twitter thread. The story is still being written. New goal is to become a billionaire. Heck yeah. We will go forth and do much of what is needed. Best community ever. Will Ledger support PLS? They have a history of supporting things as they become more popular. As the thing becomes more popular, it gets supported. Hex wasn't supported at launch, but it was supported not too long after. So I think that's all I can tell you for now. Hex Famous, good to see you. Hope all is well. I would say yes. Jacob says, what is your flex, Maddie? Definitely, yeah, going back to the future. Getting the Hex DeLorean, being able to have it as a symbol of paying your future self, where you're able to, time lock your money and have that mechanism to delay gratification, where you're eliminating some of the counterparty risk that you have with your future self. So being able to buy the DeLorean and take it around the country to promote Hex, to go to the Bitcoin conference and promote Hex with the DeLorean, to go to the Hex conference that I organized myself. Those were big deals to me. In terms of non-material things, I would definitely say my biggest Hex flex is the friendships and the relationships that I've been able to have with people as a streamer and a broadcaster. It's caused a lot of personal development for me. And it's also very gratifying to know that I've helped some people that I wouldn't have been able to help if I didn't have this online platform and didn't have such a great community that it continues to grow around the space. And so whether it's people reporting back that they started taking omega 369 because 25% of the weight of your brain is supposed to be omega 3. And when I started taking omega 3, it made a difference in my life. And over 100 clients that I worked with in a mental health clinic, it also benefited from this greatly, to the point where you can notice the effect, that you get more clarity of thinking. And if there was one thing that I could advise for people who are not on blood thinners, would be to get more omega 369 in your life. It will make you, it will give you the materials that you need to be better at delaying gratification, problem solving, thinking clearly, doing all of the things that your prefrontal cortex is designed to do. And so this is one of the materials that our brains need and that we're not necessarily getting from the average American diet. And so you can get omega 369 at your local Walmart or grocery store. also called fish oil, and normally costs in between $5 and $10 a month. So not too bad. Hi, Maddie says, Stuart, what is your favorite coin built for the Hex community outside of RH products? It's a good question. I mean, I like free money that's given to Hexicans. And so I don't think it's like a surprise to people that one of my choice that I would pick something from the airdrops that have been directed to only Hexicans. And out of the airdrops, the major airdrops that we've gotten between Hedron and Pulse Dogecoin, I like that Pulse Dogecoin is simple and has a distribution that favors people who are not already whales. And so I think that the game theory there is really cool. I'm not sure whether Pulse Dogecoin would be a good investment for people, but I think that the way that it was launched and the free claim mechanics and how, it doesn't matter what you want to do with it, that if you were staking Hex during the snapshot at 420, then you have until early July to like go to pulsedogecoin.com and claim your free airdrop money. These tokens, for some people, like people I gifted Hex to, like $50 worth 2 Christmases ago, so about a year and a half ago, I gifted people in between $50 and $100 worth of Hex that was staked for 15 years. I gifted it to them on a physical coin called a cold storage coin. And the free claim that I could do with Pulse Dogecoin was worth like $100 to $200 for those accounts that I was able to guide people through. And so that's really exciting and cool to me that that the free money keeps coming over and over again. And for some people, what they're doing is they're selling like half of the airdrop and keeping the other half in case it moons later for some strange reason. Or some people are selling it all. Some people are holding on to it all. It really depends like what people's personal position is and strategy. Like, what do you do with your free money? Do you buy more Hex? Do you cash out to live off of the free money? Or do you hold stablecoin so that you can sacrifice for the next Richard Hart project, like the MetaMask replacement, the new wallet project that will launch after Pulse Chain and Pulse X successfully launch? Maybe you want to buy the dip in Pulse X or Pulse. Whatever people are doing with that free money, I like that it's that people are getting that value out of being a Hex staker. And I predict that that'll keep happening more and more. That that more coins will get built to reward Hex stakers. And that's exciting to me. So good question. I also like that people got so much free money from Hedron. I don't like wrapped stakes. I like them a little bit better than I used to, and I'm not alarmist about them anymore. But it's Hedron also gave people a lot of free money, and that may have stopped some people from cashing out so much Hex. Might have helped hold the price up in some way or another. It also might be a distraction for some people, or be something where people invested and then now their investment is down, and OGs will continue to, or the OA wallet or whatever will continue to have sell pressure, or maybe everybody will like it and it'll go to the moon. Either way, I think there are multiple cool things being built on Hex. Let's see. Laid back Hex 33. I'm now taking Omega 369 after listening to you. Thanks. Thank you for sharing your experience. I hope that it's going well for you. I'm not sure how long you've been taking Omega 369, but I try to talk about it almost every week because it's that important that I think people should give it a shot. It's probably the easiest thing that you can do to get the biggest noticeable effect for having better mental health and better physical health. Omega 369, it also helps some people who have joint pain, because this is the material that your body needs to create the myelin sheath and the rubbery material that not only insulates your brain, but also the rubbery material that goes in between your joints where your bones meet, so that you don't have as much knee pain or joint pain. Now, some joint pain is caused by things that aren't fixed by omega-3, but people who are super deficient in this area can sometimes even see benefits to their physical health, to their pain levels, to their lives beyond just the increased brain function. So, speak of the devil. Well, we didn't speak of him directly, but here's Dr. Diraj More here, right on cue to say something silly or give people some smart points on Hex. So welcome. Thanks for being in the chat. And another brilliant mind here, Hex Live, is in the chat. Shout out to you. Okay, so Laid Back Hex 33 says 7 months taking omega-3 and it's going great. I'm super glad to hear it. So, well, with that being said, everybody, it looks like I caught up in chat. It looks like I achieved my goal today of creating a super positive stream. We talked at the beginning about why delaying gratification and waiting for things, waiting for Pulse Chain to come out, letting people do their own style of marketing, and letting people disagree in the community, and allowing some disagreement. It can lead to a more inclusive community that is better informed, and people can decide for themselves like where value is being added without necessarily having negativity coming into everything. When we call everything drama, sometimes it's minimizing the important job of people to challenge each other and to question authority and to, be responsible for who they're promoting, right? And for what information you're sharing, there's a certain amount of responsibility that is on the broadcaster, and there's a certain amount that's on the audience member, and that can go back and forth, and those are separate kind of like jobs. Is I want to be responsible for what I'm saying and bring you the best information, but also I want you to take responsibility for how you're using my free speech and my free education to make your own decisions and be responsible. So even though there's been some drama in the community, I think there's a way to look at it as a positive thing. That's what we talked about first. And then we talked about all the awesome posts people made just a couple weeks ago. Even though the price of Hex was down from all-time highs, now it's down a little bit more than it was maybe at the beginning of May. But look, there were hundreds of comments of people having really life-changing experiences with crypto. Some people, they gave examples of how it changed their behavior, it changed their addiction, it changed their health, it changed their relationships, gave them a lot of security, and allowed them to buy things that were flashy or that they've always wanted. So shout out to everybody who has, even if you haven't taken any profits and you're delaying gratification, or if you've already cashed out, everybody makes their own decisions and everything. But to have really a positive stream today and have positive vibes, I'm really excited about it. I'm glad we were able to share this time together for Hex Therapy. I also want you to get excited about some Midwest Hex meetups that are happening in the next week and a half, and then in about a month. On June 15th, Big Kurkowski is throwing out the first pitch at a Cubs game in Chicago, and I'm going to be releasing details here very soon about an event that I'm going to be putting together that'll be both online and in person. That's going to be about an hour and a half outside of Chicago, coming up in not this weekend, but the next. And so stay tuned for that. I'm also going to be releasing more information about the online Pulse conference that is going to be coming up in the middle of July. So shout out to everybody who's been here. Please share this material out. Leave a comment if you're watching this after it's already been live. Hit the like and subscribe button. Help me get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. And until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
It's from ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research. There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.